Hello, great ones. Welcome back to the Live and Be Great podcast. I'm Latonya McDonald, your spiritual psychological life coach, intuitive guide, and the heart behind Live and Be Great. Today, we're going to unpack a story that the internet couldn't stop watching. Kendra, an ADHD coach who went viral after sharing a 25+ part TikTok saga about falling in love with her therapist. Now, beyond the entertainment factor, whether you saw it as entertaining or not, or you identified with it, or you were skeptical of it, this saga gives us a chance to talk about deeper truths, like why people stay in toxic love, which I've talked about before on this podcast, what blurred boundaries look like, what, or should I say, when it's time to seek professional mental health care, how to recognize signs of psychosis, why AI is not and should never, ever be your therapist. Okay. And how healing means choosing safe love over chaos, right? So buckle in. We're going deep, but we're also leaving you empowered. Okay, so don't shy away from this conversation. Please don't. I promise it will for sure be impactful. Now, Kendra's now viral words, and I quote, "I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew and he kept me until I had the strength to leave after 4 years." She described their dynamic as an emotional torture chamber and even accused him of manufacturing everything so that she could fall in love with him. Now, here's my stance. By her own admission, he kept his professional boundaries, okay? She would say certain things even while she was describing her story in their interactions. Those boundaries were professional. Like, she would reframe his clear boundaries. For instance, she said he would compliment her without actually complimenting her, right? He would say things like, "You're wearing glasses today." And she took it as him trying to compliment her without actually complimenting her, right? And I should not laugh, okay? I shouldn't. I laugh when I get nervous. It's a defense mechanism. I laugh when I am in shock. I laugh sometimes when I'm angry. So don't take it the wrong way, because even though she may have felt this way, right? Feelings are not facts. They aren't. So he did not act unethically at all. And this is by her own admission. By her own admission. Her narrative, however, reflects deeper struggles, traits of possibly, I can't diagnose her from watching her TikToks. But what it looks like is borderline or histrionic personality disorder. And they both include obsession, idealization, volatility, and blurred lines. By her own admission, she also admitted that she liked to upset him. She liked to shock him. She liked to try anytime that she could to throw him off of his game, right? Now, as a mental health professional, clients with these disorders, okay, or with mental illness, this is a common thing that, yes, they will, when they have particular personality disorders that may have not been diagnosed or diagnosed, they may try to push your boundaries, even though you're setting clear and concise boundaries. That doesn't mean you let go of them as a client, right? You have to set something in place. Now, just saying that, "Oh, I'm in love with you," that's not how can I say this? For a psychiatrist, that is really just there to prescribe your meds, okay? Not really to give you therapy and to listen to your feelings. That's not really their job? No, sorry. They set a clear boundary. They might giggle a bit, but depending on your disorder, they can't outright, well, you're crazy. I could never. Don't you know this is stupid what you're saying? They can't respond that way. They have to respond with caution, right? And sometimes the safest way is to giggle and change the subject, depending on what type of personality disorder and what type of meds they may be on. It may cause them to react in a volatile way, like safety first for both parties. Okay. So, out of the clinical sense, I want you to think about this. Have you ever stayed in something you knew wasn't healthy, but told yourself a story to justify holding on? Yes, I know I have. But have you? Okay. And it could be anything from, I can change this person because I know what their childhood trauma was like and I get it. So I know I could change them, even though they may have said, there's nothing wrong with me. You need therapy, not me. You go to therapy and they don't go, but they're still the same. That's just an example. Not to say that I've done that, but I hear it all the time and people come to me all the time when they're having troubles in their relationship, their romantic relationship, and they're telling me all these different horrors that they've gone through. And like their initial thought is to come to couples therapy, but their partner may not show up. And they'll say things, well, maybe I do. I'm the one that needs the therapy, right? Honestly, if you feel like your partner needs therapy and you haven't gone and you guys are together, you both need therapy individually. Yes, you do. Just being honest. So let's talk nuance. Even if the psychiatrist stayed professional, right? Abruptly ending treatment for someone with deep attachment wounds can re traumatize them. For instance, imagine a child abandoned by a parent. Now, imagine therapy ending suddenly. It reopens the wound. That's why ethical therapy means safe endings and transition plans, not cold cutoffs. She also mentioned Kendra, back to Kendra, she mentioned that her therapist reached out to her after she just abruptly stopped coming and asked if they can have just one more session to close off therapy and transition out. That therapist did the right thing. They covered their tracks as well as far as being ethically responsible, making it safe because you cannot, especially if you don't know why a client may abruptly and that's just the right way to do things. It really is. And unfortunately, Kendra, she explained it in a way that she attempted to make the therapist outside of the psychiatrist, because she had a psychiatrist and a therapist, seem unprofessional, but they weren't. And by her own admission, right? She showed the email and the email was very professional. Okay. So it is important to understand that this perspective doesn't mean Kendra's psychiatrist did anything wrong. It shows us how fragile endings in mental health can be. Because look at this whole 25 plus part series where she was spiraling. Family was reaching out to her. Friends were reaching out to her loved ones. Former clients had things to say. Her bosses tried to reach out to her. She was talking about this story in class while she was supposed to be, I believe, teaching yoga or Pilates. Right? Now let me provide a tad bit more understanding or I should say education about what responsibilities mental health professionals have. So for those of you who don't know, and I'll probably continue to mention this, but a psychiatrist is a medical doctor that prescribes medication, limited therapy, limited, right? Just to get a better understanding of why you need a particular medication and, basically probing questions, how you're doing on the medication to monitor you on a medication, right? Not really to dive deep into your childhood, into your trauma and things of that nature, right? Just to aid you during recovery. And just about every psychiatrist will, if you do not already have a therapist, they will refer you to a psychologist or a therapist. They will, in conjunction with their services. A psychologist is someone that has a doctorate doctoral degree in psychology, clinical psychology. They provide therapy, they provide diagnosis, and they test. Okay, they test you. They'll ask a questionnaire. They'll go into their manuals to see what symptoms fit the proper diagnosis, autism testing, right? Things like that. That's what they do. The therapist say, oh, CSW, LPC, LMFT. Those professionals, they provide support for trauma, behavior, and relationships. Life coaches, like myself, okay, and I used to be a therapist. I'm a former therapist. Life coaches, they forward momentum work. They're mainly solution based, okay? They integrate psychology and spirituality. They can integrate astrology, human design, any type of holistic medicine, right? More freedom. As to this is why I became a life coach, because I didn't want to have to worry about the lack of freedom to find the right anecdote, the right formula to help my clients get to where they need to get to. Now, too often people seek the wrong type of support and feel stuck. Knowing the difference helps you know who to turn to. Okay. Now, I had secondhand embarrassment for this situation. And I don't even know if I should mention this, but Kendra was an ADHD coach. Okay. I don't think that ADHD is the only, I don't think that that's the only thing that she suffers from at all. Okay. So I don't want to give ADHD a bad name. And if you want to familiarize yourself, not diagnose, because you can't, unless you got the proper credentials, you can't diagnose anybody, and you should not be diagnosing yourself. Okay. But if you want to further your knowledge, there's something called the DSM. Go to the library, look it up, and it'll give you it'll provide for you clarity on these different diagnoses that are in the mental illness category, the mental health category, and they'll show you the criteria. And the criteria means the symptoms that a person may experience in order to be diagnosed with that particular disorder, mental illness. All right? Feel free to do so. But I had secondhand embarrassment. I really did. Because even though one of her clients talked about Kendra using human design, but she also talked about how Kendra told her to use ChatGPT for her support, but it wasn't like support like, oh, I need to get work done at my job or this, that, and the other. No, like for mental health advice. No, that's not, don't do that. No one should be doing that. Okay. I use human design too, but it's later in the process. I remove the blocks first. That's how I work. Okay. So some people may not be open to these different esoteric sciences. So you have to respect that if they decide to utilize you as a coach, right? I respect that, right? But my psychological background, that usually takes the forefront of me understanding what the obstacles are that a person may need to or need help removing in order to reach their goals. I start there. Okay. And with every profession, not to say that what Kendra went through couldn't happen to people. It does happen, right? There are people in these spaces, in this mental health space, right? In this, I would say, medical field space that are very, very inappropriate, very unprofessional. Don't discredit, please try not to discredit the whole entire, the whole entire industry. You don't have to do that. Okay, there are people that know what they're doing who just might have to do a tad bit more work to find the right fit for you. And I think it was awesome that she was still going to therapy, but unfortunately, the therapist that she was going to, whoever diagnosed her previously, kind of missed the mark, and I'm not sure if she even gave enough time for the therapist that she recently let go of to get to the bottom of what she was experiencing. Because, yes, sometimes you can be misdiagnosed with the wrong thing depending on the circumstance, and I hate that. There's ups and downs, like, if when you go to get your car fixed or go get an oil change and they tell you about all these different things wrong with your car, or you go get your car fixed for one thing and then they see all these other different things. Sometimes getting help, no matter what area in your life, that could be the frustrating part, to where you say, "I don't wanna do it no more." Okay. And that's a sidebar. I don't mean to get completely off topic, but it is something that happens, but I don't want it to discourage you. I really do not. There are good people out there, good professionals out there that exist, and sometimes you might have to search a little bit longer. Sometimes you might have to pay a little bit more, right? Sometimes you just have to try it out and see what works for you, but it is possible. It is possible. Now, clarity matters, okay? It does. Here are some signs that it's time to seek help. And you can see these signs in other people that you're worried about, and you might be able to see it within yourself, okay? Now, if you are experiencing persistent paranoia or delusions, okay? If you are seeing or hearing things that others don't. And I'm not talking about the mediums. I'm not talking about it kind of like clashes. Some of this kind of clashes with people's spiritual gifts, right? But there is a difference. There's definitely a difference. Obsessions interrupting your daily functioning. Documentaries where people are literally obsessed with stalking people, or they'll call somebody 500 times a day, or they'll have an addiction to where they're gaming, and they're gaming all day and they haven't eaten, or they might be working out and their body, oh my gosh, can barely move, but they're still going hard in the gym, or they aren't hungry, but they're overeating, like obsessions, right? That interrupt your daily function, which is the normal get up, brush teeth, wash face, whatever your morning routine is, go to the bathroom when you need to go to the bathroom, eat at dinner time, lunchtime, breakfast time, whatever the case may be, go to work, show up to work, pay your bills, your responsibilities, right? Obsessions that interrupt that. Extreme, unpredictable mood swings, like there's no in between. Okay, you feel sorry. Sometimes you don't even remember what happened. You just see the aftermath, whether that is maybe you went off on somebody you don't remember, or you damaged certain things, maybe road rage. Unpredictable, like a trigger just sets you off, and it's a drastic outcome once you're set off, and that mood has swung all the way to the other side. Okay. People close to you expressing serious concern. That is a big, big one. People close to you, people that love and care about you expressing concern. This doesn't mean that you're broken. It simply means your mind needs care the way your body needs a doctor when you're ill. Okay. That's what that means. And psychosis is not a diagnosis. It isn't. It's a symptom that can happen in schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or even severe depression. Like so many different categories of disorders. It looks like detachment from reality, believing elaborate fantasies as truths, right? Paranoia without evidence, okay? Paranoia without evidence. So, to tie this back to Kendra, she often interpreted silence or discomfort as proof of a secret romance. That's not reality, it's distortion. Okay? No proof whatsoever. Psychosis is like wearing glasses with the wrong prescription. Everything looks warped, but to you, it feels perfectly clear. Okay. But it isn't. It isn't. And it could be very, very scary. It really can. It can. But if you're experiencing these things, there's nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong with seeking help. Okay. Now, let's lighten it just a little because Kendra mentioned her psychiatrist was a Pisces. Now, I'm Pisces. We don't know if this is true or not. Okay. But you already know Pisces, especially if you're into astrology, you already know Pisces energy is compassionate, empathetic, sometimes elusive. They often reflect back whatever people project onto them, right? Or sometimes they can do that without even trying to reflect that. Like for instance, if I would go to a dance class and somebody would ask me for help and they'll say out of their mouth, like, "Girl, can you help me with this move? You look like you made the dance up." Or I remember I had a performance and the performance was with different dance teams. So it was a lot of people that showed up to the showcase that I did not know, like hundreds of people. When I tell you multiple people would stop me, follow me in the dressing room and ask me what we were doing. And I'm like, I don't even know you. Go ask a choreographer, right? That's just how it was. Or people may see me on the street and tell me their whole life story, right? People project that. And it happens to really a lot of Pisces that I know. It does. Okay. So when it comes to Kendra, in her wounded state, it's possible she fell in love not with him, but with the fantasy of him. Okay? Here's a lesson for all of us. Check yourself. Are you actually in love with the person across from you? Or are you in love with your own projection of who you hoped they'd be? Women do that all the time, okay? Women do that all the time, right? Especially in our younger years, all the time. The projection is real. We project stuff on the celebrities all the time. For anybody famous, all the time. Just because they played a character does not mean that's them. And they get attached to that. They fall in love with that image. Okay. So check yourself. Check yourself. Check the facts when it comes to your feelings about people. Okay. Hard to do that. I will admit, hard to do that if you are in psychosis or if you haven't gotten the help that you actually do need, or people are getting it wrong with you. I don't know. Like it could be difficult, but go back to the steps beforehand. Mainly the step when people around you have serious concerns about your mental health and they express that to you. Kendra also used AI chatbots like Henry to validate her feelings. That is dangerous. Okay, quite dangerous, people. It really, really, utterly, and truly is. AI should never replace therapy. It shouldn't replace any type of authority in your life. It should not. Okay. Safe uses for AI are reflection questions, right? Journaling prompts. Get some journaling prompts, drafting affirmations for you. Okay. Researching mental health terms to bring to be your human therapist or coach. Unhealthy uses, asking AI to condone toxic behavior. But I don't know if she knew it was toxic. I don't know if she knew. I don't know. It doesn't appear to be. Even though by her own admission, all right, she did, in fact, state that it was her mission every time she met with her psychiatrist for 30 minutes now. 30 minutes. Most of the time was on screen. That she loved to see him squirm. She loved to throw him off. She loved to shock him. That was her mission. Was to cross their boundaries, cross the psychiatrist's boundaries. Okay, so yeah, she was asking AI to condone her toxic behavior. She was calling her the oracle and everything. Like treating AI like a therapist or a romantic partner is also unhealthy. Okay, like remember, AI can supplement growth, but it can never replace empathy or human connection. It can't do that. That's not what it's made for. Should it be? I don't I don't let me not lie to you and say that, people aren't creating certain AI chat systems to replace, I don't want to say replace human connection, but yeah, they might be doing that, but you shouldn't use it for that. You shouldn't. Okay? Like human connection is beautiful. And I understand there's some lonely people out there. There's people that feel isolated, misunderstood. But no, 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 no. Seek professionals. Okay? Join a support group. not AI, right? Like set up your AI to challenge you, okay? To be, I would say, unbiased, right? To counteract your arguments so that you are staying mentally in check and you don't fall into what they're starting to call and what they're starting to discover is AI psychosis. And that's what unfortunately Kendra was going through. Like she might have been going through that. I can't diagnose it, but everything the way she asked certain questions, even though she told on herself, that's the dangerous part, even though she told on herself multiple times by expressing what the psychiatrist actually did, which was very, very, very professional and ethical. AI can sometimes be overly positive and not give you pushback. Okay. There are ways. Look it up on how to make sure that your AI system is set up to where it does give you pushback and it doesn't allow you to run with false pretenses. And I think one of her AI chat bots actually stopped communicating with her because now, because of different things and the way people have used it, it did stop communicating with her after they detected that she was not using the system properly. There are certain triggers that went off in one of her particular, I believe it might have been ChatGPT. That was like, no more. ChatGPT was her favorite. That was called Henry. It was like, nope, you going doing too much right now, you know? So yeah, don't do that. Please do not. Okay. Now, Kendra's story, it does connect to a larger truth. And that truth is that many of us stay in situations even when someone says outright, I'm toxic, I can't be what you want. Okay. And I think I talked about that in a previous episode. I think I have. But the psychiatrist was never, not necessarily toxic. They were putting up clear boundaries, right? And this is how far you're going to get with me, and this is how far you're not going to get with me. So we're talking about in that sense, if you ignore what somebody is telling you, that is not going to be good for you. Okay, you don't continue to push. She was, honestly, I'm just saying, Kendra was the aggressor. To me, personally, she was the aggressor in this instance. She moved like a predator, okay? We can't condone that behavior. We cannot. And yes, sometimes it does look like, unfortunately, it does look like when somebody's a predator, they convince themselves oftentimes that they have a right to you, to somebody, regardless of whether that person rejects their advances. They do things to try to weigh you down. And if they can't if they down, if they're strong enough, they get physical, right? And no, it's not always physical. Sometimes it is verbal and mental, the way someone moves. Sometimes it can be financial, right? So many different ways that abuse can occur from a predator. And he was her prey based off of the context. And you could disagree, but based on this particular story. And again, not saying that this isn't something that is possible, that isn't possible. Like, yes, some people can be like, in every aspect, again, can be unprofessional. But by Kendra's own admission, Kendra was experiencing some sort of psychosis, psychotic spiral, okay? Based off of her own fantasies, her own delusions and obsessions with the psychiatrist. And it should not be condoned. Like, she needs support, okay? And this, if it's, because I said she's showing signs, can't diagnose her, but she is showing signs of borderline personality disorder or histrionic personality disorder. The attention, don't do nothing that she gets, don't do nothing but boost her ego. Okay, so this is going to be the only time that you hear me talk about this, because I don't want to aid in her demise. I do not. But people do need to be aware. Okay, they need to be aware of this situation's experience. All right. We have to learn more how to think critically and practice thinking critically. Now, sorry, I got off a little bit, but back to the toxic and things of that nature. If somebody says outright, I'm toxic, I can't be with you, or I don't want to be with you. Somebody says no, period. We have to, because our nervous system mistakes inconsistency for love, sometimes childhood trauma primes us for chaos, okay? And when it comes to astrology, Your Venus placement can reveal those patterns. In human design, emotional authority can blur those passions with stability. Okay, however you want to take it. However you want to take it. Okay. Childhood trauma, psychology, astrology, Venus placements, human design, spirituality, whatever. However you want to take it. Okay. No matter what, love should not feel like survival. Love should feel safe, okay? Not a challenge that you need to try to beat, okay? Not the major boss for the gamers out there, the top boss. No, 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 no. It shouldn't feel like that. My goodness. If you stayed in toxic love, hear me. You're not broken. You were repeating what your nervous system believed love was. But healing is possible. Healing is rewriting the story, showing your inner child that love doesn't have to be chaos. Like I talked about in a previous episode, it does not have to be chaos. Okay? It doesn't. Somebody don't want you, leave them alone. In Kendra's, feeling, if you're one of those, or if you struggle with the things that she struggled, if you completely agree with her, right? Even if love shouldn't be chaos. If you feel like you got to fight to get this person to love you, that's not love. You're not reciprocating. Leave them alone. Work on yourself and you'll attract who you deserve. Okay? Let's take this affirmation. You are worthy of love that doesn't confuse you, punish you, or make you beg for breadcrumbs. I like that one. I like that one a lot. Okay, y'all, I've gone on long enough. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Live and Be Great. If this resonated with you, share it with someone you know is battling toxic love, or anybody who wants more information on mental health services, what coach to choose, anything. It was a lot in this episode, so just share it. I'm sure anybody will find interest in educational impact if you did, just like you did, okay? To stay connected with me, Instagram and YouTube is at Live and Be Great with Latonya. That's Live and Be Great with Latonya, all spelled out, all together. On TikTok, Live and Be Great _ Latonya. And if you're ready to break free from toxicity cycles and finally claim a life of safe love and aligned healing, visit liveandbegreat.com. I only work with a small number of clients at a time because transformation requires intimacy. If your heart is nudging you, this is your sign. And of course, I'll let you know. If I have to put you on a waiting list, don't worry. I'll get to you as soon as I can. Okay? And until next time, don't forget to give yourself permission to live and be great.